Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Finale. I am the host of the longest running real estate broadcast in the United States. It's called Real Estate Talk TGIF, actually North America. So anyway, Real Estate Talk TGIF is the broadcast. We are episode 229 and 226. For those expecting to see Justin Nelson, the founder and CEO of Sphere Rocket VA, unfortunately, Justin got stuck with bad weather and could not get a consistent Wi-Fi signal. So we've got to be just like parallel to Justin. We have Joel Perso, who is the COO of Sphere Rocket VA. Hello, Joel. How are you today?
I'm good, Dave. How are you?
I am awesome, man. We're going to get back and talk about your story, which is all about, organizing companies, building businesses, and just doing it really, really well. And we're going to be right back with you and your story and a lot of fun. Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team. Well, here we are. We are back, and thank you so much, Joel, for jumping in at the last minute today. You really did. Thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks.
That's awesome, man. So we got, Sphere Rocket VA has been a part of my business and my life since May of this year. And it's something that I've heard about over the years through a lot of collaborative efforts that I have through the Fast Forward movement, Honey Badger Nation, etc. And it's been a really great thing for me to get involved in because it's helped me leverage my business. I'm now doing more things. I've got people doing the work I used to do right now. So I'm leveraging my time and everything else. I got to start the broadcast the way I start it all the time. And it is with one simple question. And don't worry if you don't get it right, because most people do not. It's Real Estate Talk TGIF. What does the TGIF stand for?
Man, I would have guessed, thank God it's Friday, but now I'm second guessing myself.
I would. It is. I'll hold the suspense. Thank God it's Finale. Dave Finale.
Nice.
Finale, here we are, right? So, look, man, we've had a brief conversation about what you're all about. You're now the Chief Operating Officer of Sphere Rocket VA. But that's not everything. That's not only been for 7 or so months. So let's go back and Joel, you've got a really cool past and how you built up and got to where you are today. Talk to me about, what your path was to get to where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, we did it by accident today, but it ends up being a great fit for the podcast, for the broadcasts with my history. So I first got into real estate in 2012. My first job was as a transaction coordinator on a pretty small sales team. It was 5 salespeople and me, and I was the only non, high I type A, organized analytical person on the team. So I started with transactions, but I pretty quickly started absorbing operational, financial, marketing, really anything that was process driven that needed to be organized. Started absorbing those responsibilities. So took over as that team grew, took over operations, and essentially running everything except sales and marketing alongside my team leader. So that team leader and I ended up starting an independent brokerage outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it had an interesting model, kind of a team style brokerage. But we grew that to about 30 agents on the team. Our best year, we did 400 units, a little over 2 million in GCI. So learned a ton along the way. It was my first leadership role, my first kind of higher level operational role, and just learned a tremendous amount on that journey. Ultimately, we parted ways, and from about 2018 till earlier this year, I was the COO of a company called VRX Media Group, which is a national real estate media and marketing firm. So doing pictures for listings, 3D tours, drone videos, virtual staging, things like that. and kind of took what I had learned from the brokerage of growing a small business, all of the mistakes we made, all of the things that I wish I could have done better or done over, and we're able to take that experience into the media company. So we grew from about 5 markets when I joined to over 50 markets when I left. We did about 200 on our team, photographers around the country, 3 times on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies list. And ultimately, earlier this year, got connected with Justin, the founder of our company. And in March of this year, made the switch, joined Sphere Rocket. And, I had reached a point, and we can dive into this if you'd like, but I'd reached a point with the previous company where the team was built, the systems were in place, it was running really smoothly. And we were waiting on sales to catch up with the capacity that we had built from an operational level. And I found myself pretty comfortable, which for a while was nice because I had been moving at a fast pace for years, 10 years, but found myself a little too comfortable. And that started to scare me a little bit. Like I really believe if you're not growing, you're dying. And I had reached a point where, I didn't feel like I was growing. So through that process, I kind of discovered about myself. I love most in business is diving into an exciting, fast-paced, fast-growing small business, but that usually means they're chaotic as well. So coming into Sphere Rocket in March of this year, with the task of building out the team, getting our systems and processes in place, so that we can scale and ultimately pursue that vision that Justin has, which is a big vision. I think can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I had my mic off because I was doing stuff before. Actually, sorry for my delay getting back. I had some technical difficulties in sharing the broadcast, but that's
No worries.
all now. Anyway, so you know what? I mean, coming into Sphere Rocket, you started there a few months before I was actually at the event where I joined the movement, so to speak. I want to talk about the operations end of a real estate business, and we'll get to Sphere Rocket and a few other things. You started the business as a transaction coordinator, and then you started your own brokerage. So a lot of people start as an agent and then they want to become a team leader, or they start their own brokerage. You went from being a TC to starting a brokerage. Tell me how that worked out, and what were the things that you may have failed at? Because the reason I asked the question, Joel, is because there's a number of agents that say, "Oh, I'm going to start a team." When I had my brokerage a number of years ago, "Oh yeah, I'm going to start a team." And my question, and this was an agent that had 3 deals for the last 2 years. I said, "Well, why are you do you have business for a team?" "Oh, no, I'll just bring them in. They can do my work." So talk to me about the TC transition to the brokerage, and what were your failures and successes?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if we got enough time to go through all the failures, but I can give a few of the big ones. So the process for me, I mean, I loved. So right before I got into real estate, I spent a year selling life insurance, where I quickly discovered that I didn't want anything to do with sales. So I took my kind of analytical side, my organizational side, and getting into real estate, it seemed like a perfect fit. Like, sure, there's plenty of conflict with, difficult transactions, things like that. But most of my responsibilities were not a ton of interaction, and I kind of liked that. I liked building the things. I liked, getting processes in place, documenting things. And the biggest challenge I had, and actually, had my business partner and a coach help me through this, was I really resisted taking a more active leadership role, even when I was already, an operations manager, and then ultimately the chief operating officer and president of our brokerage. I really resisted taking an active leadership role, being more visible, being more vocal. And so the biggest kind of category of mistakes that I made along the way were around leadership, and specifically around communication. So I learned a lot of hard lessons about how much communication you have to do as a leader, how clear you have to be, the pitfalls of people hearing things that you're speculating about and thinking that you said to do that. So things like that. So there's a whole category of leadership mistakes, but a lot of them are around communication, and having to get more comfortable, being in front of the team, taking responsibility for our, failures, communicating the vision. So that was a big piece of my growth, was just having to embrace the fact that I was a leader now, and all the things that came along with, leadership responsibilities. And the exciting part about leadership, and this is true in operations and so many areas of business, is they're skills that can be developed. And once that really clicked for me, that almost everything in life is a skill that can be developed. Now I felt like I had something to tackle. I can become a better leader. I can become a better business person. These are things that can be developed. So leadership definitely has been the harder part of my journey. A lot of the operational side comes pretty naturally for me, fits well with my, natural gifts and talents. But leadership really was the hardest part about, developing for me throughout that process. And obviously that process never ends, which is exciting too.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things you said was communicating the vision, and I know exactly what you mean when we talk about there's difficulty in communicating the vision. When you get the vision down, that you know what you want to do, because inertly what you want to do and what your vision is and how you want to help people. Because why would you start something? I mean, you can't do it alone. So to grow a brokerage, you need people that are on the same page. The communication part for us to take our brains that are racing miles and miles an hour to get it out there can take a lot of not only time but stress and a lot of that stuff. So what was the way you were able to communicate that vision to when you transitioned to started brokers and to the agents you brought in?
Yeah, and this kind of gets back to your first point, the agent with 3 deals who wants to start a team, and really it's about getting clear. So you have the vision, you have this, exciting idea, this picture in your head, but you have to get really clear on it and get it down on paper. So I'm a huge fan of using a framework for anything you can in business. So
Right.
we picked a framework for how to think about vision, and then developed it through that framework. For us, it came from a book called Beyond Entrepreneurship, written by Jim Collins. And so he breaks down vision as values plus purpose plus mission. So values, what are the core values in your company? What are the things that are gonna be who you are as a company? Their decision-making filters. These are the things that are central to our business about who we are as a company. And then purpose, the idea behind purpose is this is like the North Star. This is why our company exists. We're always pursuing this purpose, but it's never something that you can hit. It's not an attainable goal, but it's something that guides everything we're doing as a company. And then mission, the way they describe that is the mission is the mountaintop. What's the big goal we're going after right now? But it's clear. It's a mountain we can climb. We know when we hit it. So we started to break things down. And how do we articulate? Are we clear on what our core values are? Are we clear on what our purpose is? If you can put your purpose into a 1 to 2 sentence statement that is exciting for people, that's a huge piece of this communication. And then with the mission as well, everybody on the team knows exactly what the mission is right now. They know when we're supposed to have it done by. They know what the number is that we need to hit. And then once we get clear, we really just talk about it all the time. The difference between your core values living on your wall on a poster and living in your business is just how much you're leading by example in having those things be a part of the daily conversation in the business. So for example, we at Sphere Rocket, one of the things we talk about all the time is everybody wins. So it means our clients win, our team members win, our virtual assistants that we're placing with our clients win. And that's just one little way, one of our values that helps guide our decisions, but it's part of the daily conversation. So, we'll say that to each other, everybody wins, everybody wins. In our real estate brokerage, one of them was never stop learning. That was one of our core values. So we did things in the business to make sure that those became, part of the conversation. And then I think the piece where it gets lost a lot And getting back to leadership communication is it's almost impossible to talk about these things too much. Every single day wouldn't be too much. My business partner used to joke that if the team's rolling their eyes at me, then he said, then I'm probably talking about it enough, because we've heard it so many times. But that's what it takes for these things to really become living, breathing
Right.
parts of your business. So you almost can't over communicate as a leader, and that's one thing that took me a long time to learn. I said, well, we talked about this 3 months ago. Well, that's not good enough.
No, you know what? That's a great line. You can't over communicate enough as a leader. So my take on that is, a lot of agents, we're with what we're doing. We call it the Modern Agent Framework, and helping agents set appointments every day. And we're doing that every day. And one of the things about this framework is consistency in action, persistency in action. And the phrase I love the most is "do the work," right? And people will say, well, I keep calling the same people. That's okay. Keep calling them. Says there's going to be new for sale by owners. There's going to be new expires. It's like agents that come into the business. Well, you know what? There's so many people in the business in our area. There's not going to be any business for me. Yeah, but here's the thing. People are always buying and selling homes. And what we learned back in the day of first becoming a broker owner was, there's always going to be business around for everybody. It's just, what size of the piece do you want to have, right? When you talk about values plus purpose plus mission, it's just beautiful, right, man? And mission is the mountaintop. Ask you, when are you saying it too much? And you answered that question by, it's never too much. I used to get the eyes rolling all the time. And I only think my issue was that I couldn't get people to really buy in. They heard it, but it didn't sink in. So so you being an owner at one time, how would you have approached a group or a couple of agents that really wanted your help? And they came to you and said, Joel, I need your help with this, this, and this. You'd spend the time with them. They'd leave and never do what they asked you to help them with. Is there a way to deal with that, or to help them better?
Yeah, I think a couple answers to that, and it kind of depends on who that agent is. Is this an agent on your team, in your brokerage, in a rev share group or something like that? So if they're
you're talking about brokerage and or team.
Yeah, so especially on the team, it's really even taking this back to the vision. I'll go through this part quickly, but
sure.
We're clear on the vision, we're clear on the values, we're communicating them. Once we're clear on the vision, where we're going, well, now we're going to get into strategy, how we're going to get there, right? Now we're going to get after strategy. How do we build our team to accomplish the strategy in pursuit of the vision?
Right.
And then now we're getting into kind of the day-to-day stuff. And so a huge piece of this is accountability and the right people. So before we decide if they're the right people or not, it's accountability. And the number one lesson I learned and had to have this kind of beat into my head by a coach I've had for many years, is this idea of agreements versus expectations. And so the idea here is that in this scenario, but really in any business relationship, I mean, probably in any personal relationship, if you sit down with me, Dave, and we say, we each have our own expectations about what should happen. But if we're not clear with each other on those expectations, if we don't have an agreement, like, what are the chances that each of our expectations lines up? Well, it's about zero. So we need to have an agreement. So with the agents, we're sitting down and saying, you're saying you have these goals as an agent. I believe I can help you get here, but we're going to come to an agreement about what you're going to do, not just having an expectations. We're not going to leave it at the conversation of me giving you some advice and you free to take it or not take it. We're going to have an agreement about the activities that you're going to do that I know, that Dave, like, are going to help you get the results you want. And now we have our agreement in place, now we're talking about accountability. And when the beautiful thing about having the agreements in place is the conversation becomes pretty easy after that. You either did it or you didn't do it. And if you didn't do it, Let's talk about why. Do you not have the skills to do it? Did you just not do it? Is this a motivation thing? Is it so we can identify then, why it's not working, but the conversation becomes pretty easy. And when you're talking with your agents on your team or in your brokerage, I mean, a piece of the agreement can be, this is what it looks like for you to move on from the team if necessary.
Right.
So,
Right.
if you're not excited by the vision that we have for the company, that's fine. It doesn't have to be your vision.
Right.
Maybe this isn't the right place for you because this is where we're going. And then on a tactical level, once we have the agreement in place, we said you were going to do X amount of dials per day or hit this appointment per day. You didn't do those things. Now the conversation we're having is, are you committed to your own success? Because I can't want it more than you do. And if you're not committed to your own success, again, maybe this isn't the right place for you.
Right.
So I think when it comes to your team or your brokerage, you can be a little tougher because everybody has to be succeeding for the team to succeed. And I really believe that your standards as a business are what you're willing to tolerate in your business. So if you're willing to tolerate that agent who doesn't do the activity, who talks about what they want but refuses to really take action on it, they're of course not going to get the results they want. Well, that's your standard in your business. And if you want to raise your standards, you can't have those people in the business. Now, there are plenty of things we can do first, right? Like, is this a skill issue? Is it a clarity issue? We have to make sure that agreement is in place first, that we can, that would lead us to the right goal. And then on the somebody outside, maybe this is an agent coming to you, you've got, I think, what do we say, 40 years in the business. People are agents maybe outside of your direct team are coming for advice, for mentorship, for coaching. I think that's that same thing. We have an agreement in place. If you don't hold up your end of the agreement, that's probably not somebody I'm going to spend a lot of time with going forward. And that sounds a little bit harsh, but when you think about all these things in light of the vision, you have big goals, making a big impact on this industry. You can't afford to spend your time with the people who aren't going to help you get there and
Right.
aren't going to help themselves get there.
Right. I think if you're a team leader or a broker owner, the most important part is what you said, is the agreements you're making with them and the agreements they make with themselves, really, right?
Yeah.
And then from those agreements, you're making the expectations. And then I think there's actually inherent accountability built into that, because people typically, if they really mean to do it, they won't go against the word, or if they do not perform, they really didn't want to. It's like when someone said, "I didn't get to it." I honestly take that they didn't want to. Maybe they're not. I use the phrase, maybe they're not wide enough. WHYED. Yep, it's a weird word. I made it up. They're not
like
wide enough, or maybe there's just something not driving them where it's that important to them. So switching gears a little bit, let's talk about how you got from operations and what you do now with Sphere Rocket. Let's talk about Sphere Rocket VA, because truth be told, my intro to Sphere Rocket was through talk and collaboration, as I said earlier, and then going to an event, learned more about it, and all of a sudden light bulb went off. I was able to get more involved with Sphere Rocket, which is actually a virtual workforce placement agency, but it didn't start as that. So talk to me how you transitioned into that and what your position is and what you do there and how you help people that way.
Yeah, well, I'll give you the short version on how Sphere Rocket came to be, and then talk about how I ended up here. So Sphere Rocket, it was started by Justin Nelson. Again, we'll get him on the broadcast soon, so everybody can
For those coming to the broadcast looking for Justin, he got tied up in a storm and Wi-Fi is sketchy where he's at. So Joel, the COO of Sphere Rocket, has pitched in to join the broadcast today. So go ahead.
Yeah. So Justin, similar to myself, started in real estate. He was with KW at the time. His father was and is a very successful real estate team leader. So he started in his teens in real estate,
Right.
started coaching people on social media, and he got exposed. A lot of us have heard this idea, but this idea that, figure out what your time is worth, and then basically hire out or try to leverage any activities in your business that don't meet that standard. So if you're a real estate agent, what are the most valuable things you can spend your time on? Generating new business, negotiating an offer, taking a new listing. It's a pretty small list of things that really drive the revenue. And so everything else that doesn't directly contribute to that, somebody else should be doing. And so Justin was exposed to that idea, and he just took it to the extreme. So he started saying, I mean, how can I literally get rid of everything else in my life that isn't, the top 2 or 3 income producing activities? So he was pretty quickly led to virtual assistants. So he started hiring virtual assistants for himself to do his real estate business, to coordinate his travel, to help take care of his home and rental properties, things like that. So he took it to the extreme a little bit, and people really started to notice. So the first kind of version of that was people just saying, well, how did you hire a virtual assistant for yourself? And then that sort of moved into, well, could you teach me how to hire a virtual assistant? And then that pretty quickly moved into, why don't you just hire a virtual assistant for me? And that's really how Sphere Rocket was born. So Sphere Rocket is a company that places virtual assistants with real estate agents and brokerages, team leaders directly. So you need some help in your business administratively with social media, with video editing, transaction coordination, even ISA work. We'll find great people to place on your team. So that's how Sphere Rocket really came to be. Was trying to live out and grow this idea of leverage in your business. How are you going to do more with less? How are you going to gain a bigger advantage with your time and your money? And so that's what Sphere Rocket's all about. So specifically how I came to be here, I shared earlier, I had been at the media company, found myself a little comfortable, starting to think about what might be next. And when we had our brokerage, I was part of the NAEA. I was Jay Kinder, Michael Reese. We were in their mastermind group, and I still stay pretty connected with a bunch of those old guys. And so somebody reposted a Facebook post from Justin that he was looking for a chief operating officer. I kind of knew who Justin was through some EXP stuff and, real estate connections. Ultimately, I call John Kitchens, who has been my coach for many years. And I just said, hey, is this kid for real? Is this worth me talking about? And John immediately said, oh yeah, Justin needs somebody like you in the business. So I flew down to Nashville to meet Justin. And we started talking about what it might look like. And it's exactly what you would expect out of a fast growing small business. Sphere Rocket was only founded in 2020.
Right.
We've already, we've placed over 5,000 virtual assistants. We have 90 plus on our team, in the Philippines. And all of the chaos that comes with a fast growing company, somebody needs to jump in and manage that. And it can't be Justin. He needs to be driving the growth of the company. He's really the visionary of the company. And I came on board as the integrator. So I'm building out the team, starting to implement some processes, looking for ways we can improve, looking for, how are we going to set our strategy to, pursue that vision.
What I love about what you just said is you just went into one of the things I was definitely going to get into was the visionary and the integrator. There's 2 great books written by the same people. I believe it's
Traction and
Gene Wickman's. It's called Rocket Fuel and Traction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Fantastic books.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Traction lays out what they call the EOS system, entrepreneurial operating system. And then Rocket Fuel's all about the visionary integrator relationship. And the idea behind that, most businesses are started by a visionary. Nothing probably ever gets started without visionaries. But if they have any form of success and growth, it quickly becomes apparent that they're not also the one who's going to manage the day-to-day in the business. And that's where the integrator comes in. So integrator is the the organized, the analytical, the one who's going to ultimately lead the rest of the team. And the visionary is responsible for the vision, for accountability, for big ideas, maybe big relationships, but everything else in terms of the day-to-day execution of of the vision, turning the vision into reality, falls to the integrator.
Yeah, and people need to really understand. You might have a leader, a team leader that is both visionary and integrator. And until they really when they start leveraging, like if they were to hire an integrator or a COO, you want to call him that, he's the CEO, the business can really advance exponentially very quickly. We've seen that. To give some examples of that, look at Dan Beer, look at Kyle Whistle, even John Cheplack's organization, Agent Academy. And I work with John. I was one of those people in the room at John's first mastermind. He says 17 people. I know it was 13. I was one of those people. And it's just very cool to see that grow. And it's just like taking off. Yes, it's taken many years for that to happen. But, for me, for example, been in this real estate business for a very long time and wasn't sure of a direction until I decided that I really was going to leverage what I do to take the stress off. Now I need more help because of my vision. And so it's helped for me to be able to leverage. So I'm both, you really can't be both visionary and integrator, but when you're really, really small, that's how you start. And then you grow from there.
Yeah.
And Justin, basically what he does is he travels all the time as the visionary, right?
Yeah, Justin's primary thing is speaking from stage. So, when we talk about the vision for the company, it's really it's changing the lives of our clients who are going to get leverage in their businesses to grow, to get their time back, have relationships be healthy again that have been neglected because we've been spending too much time trying to make the business work. But then also, as our clients grow, they're hiring more virtual assistants, and we're creating, thousands of great jobs in the Philippines. So that's really two parts of that. But Justin's passion is teaching and speaking on these topics, and he's great at it. I mean, he is at 25 years old, he's a world-class speaker. It's what he loves to do, but it's also what the business needs him to do, because that's a huge driver of our growth as a company. So anything that takes time away from Justin speaking on stage, casting the vision and coming up with the big ideas, anything that distracts from that, we're trying to actively take off his plate so he can do only those things. And that's a process that we're in the middle of right now. He was involved in everything. He's involved in less now. But that's the process we're going through right now, making key hires, implementing key processes so that he can completely step out of everything, and I can have my leadership team that I'm working with on a day-to-day basis, and then working out the communication structures, the reporting structures that he can come into a 1-hour meeting with me every week, get all the information he needs to feel confident that we're moving forward and on the right track. And then he can get back to doing what he's best at, what he loves to do, and what the company needs him to do, which is speak from stage.
Right. And I want to, this is this is a grand level that you're talking about, and it's a huge business now. Right. And I will tell you that anybody watching this broadcast, either live or recorded, will note that there's a really nice frame around this. This is built with one of the Sphere Rocket VAs. I have a VA that I use for social media. I have a Sphere Rocket VA that makes phone calls to invite people to come and work with me, right? Not to recruit, but to work with me. I do not believe in VAs making prospecting calls. That's my personal thought, right? However, just to say one thing is that the biggest hang up for a lot of real estate agents, team leaders, brokers is, and Justin hit this in the event I went to immediately. He said that he asked the audience, what is the biggest holdup from you hiring a VA? And mostly everybody that answered said language barrier. right? Well, I'll tell you what. How many language barriers? How many accents are there in our country today? I mean, how many? I don't even speak properly. I speak New Jersey, right? You speak Wisconsin. So I
Yeah.
mean, we have different dialects. We have different ways of talking. But then you know what? Our country is a melting pot of all different nationalities, all different kinds of accents. So that's not a problem. So I'm able to take VAs and use them and leverage them in my business for social media, um, for invitations, for taking stuff off my plate. And the reason I tell you this and tell the audience this is because it's very possible to be a single agent, to have a VA do work for you to help you. They could be your kind of integrator because you're the visionary. Even though you're out there doing all the legwork too, it can help you grow your business. Would you agree with that, Joel?
Yeah, absolutely. And we really built this model, our specific model, so that it is accessible for agents who are newer in the business, or not quite at the production levels they want to be. But you get filled up with all of the tasks in real estate really quickly. You don't have to be doing 50, 60, 100 deals a year to get too busy. And again, back to that idea of what should you be doing as a real estate agent? Lead generating, closing deals. If you can focus all your time, and now think about all the ways that you actually spend your day and how much of it is spent on that. So yeah, it's absolutely it's not only critical for your business growth, but it's also critical for your life. to
100%.
time. I mean, real estate's got higher than average divorce rates, higher than average, problems with all kinds of areas, because it's a demanding field. That's why we get paid so well. It's difficult and time consuming to be a great real estate agent.
Right.
And so you need to get help in your business. And it doesn't have to look like a VA. Certainly, there's a lot of ways you can leverage your time and your money in other ways, but getting a virtual assistant in to help you with your business can be really profound for your business.
Yes, and one of the ways I look at the definition. There's two definitions I want to talk about real quickly, and I talk about these in videos all the time. The definition of a real estate agent, and you just said it. It's lead generating to get buyer and seller contracts signed. That's what a real estate agent is. Now, there's a lot of people out there that don't want to do anything more. They may not even want to do the lead generating, right? They want to show buyers homes. They want to get offers accepted. They want to go get listings and set up the listing process for that seller. And then that's all they want to do. In that case, the lead gen, the technology, the other stuff, which leads me to my second definition of a real estate professional, which is a real estate agent, which I just mentioned, a technologist, and a constant creator of relevant content. Taking that definition and inclusively bringing in help to do those things makes you an even better pro. But what I want to say on this is that you can't, and this is from a good friend of mine, Grant Wise, who said, you can't judge a fish on their ability to climb a tree, right? And if you think about that, okay, so the fish is to swim, a real estate agent is to get contracts signed. So the reason I mentioned all this is because the leverage that we're talking about has to begin somewhere, but it also has to begin with prospecting. So you had a brokerage, you were a TC. Let's get into how to grow that brokerage through prospecting for your agents, because we talked a little bit about that before.
Yeah. That's so many great points there. I want to start asking you questions. Yeah, I think it's a continuation of that idea of getting clear first, right? So we've got the vision, we've got the strategy. One of the things we see a lot of why agents don't succeed is there's no focus. So it's, am I going to lead generate? Am I going to get pay-per-click leads, Facebook leads, buy Zillow leads? Am I going to work my Sphere and database? Am I going to call expireds and FSBOs? So the first step is absolutely getting clear on what pillars of business you want to develop, and then let's design them the right way so that they can be successful. So for example, in our brokerage, starting in, and this is coming up on 10 years ago now, but really high quality CRMs were fairly new. Boomtown, Commissions Inc. were on the rise. Lead generation was still sort of online lead generation was still sort of new. There wasn't a lot of good training materials. So that's where we focused. And a big part of our vision at our brokerage was how fast can we take a great person from outside of real estate and get them to 5 million in production, which in our market was a great, comfortable living that they could base their future career off of. So that was we built our structure of the team in order to accomplish that goal. So we did a lot of online lead generation, pay-per-click, Google AdWords. We did some on Facebook, Zillow, Realtor.com. At our peak, we were spending 20 grand a month on lead generation. So we used Boomtown. There's a lot of great systems out there now. But again, we talked about that agreement. We had very, very clear training processes, but very, very clear guidelines for what was expected of when agents joined our team. So this is pre-COVID, obviously. But we're in office. We had a daily huddle every day. And then we had from 9 to noon every single day, we had prospecting time. Agents are expected to be at their desk, working their leads from 9 to noon every single day. Afternoons are for showings, are for closings, are for appointments, things like that. And then within that expectation, now there's activity. So again, we're making it very clear. There's no question of what should I be doing when I'm a real estate agent on the team. The question now is, are you going to do it or not? So, how are the leads handled? What are the scripts? What is the follow-up process? You said before, people, I feel like I keep calling the same people all the time. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's lead conversion is that follow-up. So, right. We built a really good system, and then we hold people accountable to the activities because we know that the activities are going to lead to the results.
Right, exactly. And what you also did was you created an environment for people to succeed in, right? There's a lot of, I speak to a lot of agents all the time, Joel. And what I hear is, I'll get into a conversation on how they're trying to build their business. And ultimately, there is one question I always like to get to, depending on what the conversation goes on. And I'll do this through DMs and I'll do this through phone calls. And the question typically is going to be answered the same way. The question is, who's standing next to you to grow your business? 99 out of 100, the answer is the same. No one. Yeah. Right. So I think it's really important with a great team and a great team leader to set up, as you said earlier, the agreements and the expectations, which has accountability built into it. So when you were talking about, you did the huddle every day, and 9 to 12 was prospecting. What kind of prospecting was that?
Yeah. So first step, because we were so, our specific model, we were so buyer lead heavy. Yeah. Most of our leads in the CRM were, buyer leads from those sources that I mentioned. So again, everybody knew what the expectations were. Any new leads, we have got systems in place for speed of response. If you're working the CRM properly, you've got all your tasks for the day. Last week, you scheduled somebody to get a follow-up today. 3 weeks ago, you scheduled somebody to get a follow-up today. And if you're doing those daily activities, you've got all your list of people to call ready for you every day. Your job now is to call all those people. Add notes. If you have conversations, put those notes in. If the lead status changes, if they go from a nurture lead to a hot lead, make sure you're changing the status in the CRM. Are you ready for an appointment? Now we're set an appointment. What's the next step after you set the appointment? So if you build the system the right way and then work the system the right way, it's really not that complicated and it's really not that difficult. Of course, it takes a lot of work to, set it all up in the beginning, but once it's set up, it's another form of leverage in your business because you're not trying to keep track of who you're supposed to call. You already scheduled who you're supposed to call. Or even taking it a step further, you get a new lead. Most of these CRMs now, you can build out a task plan or a follow-up plan ahead of time and just implement that. So that's automatically scheduling the calls and the emails for you. Now you just have to pull your list up and make those calls. So first step was always making sure your CRM's cleaned up, making sure you've done your follow-ups. Now, next step would be checking who's been active on the website, who's been looking at different properties, who's right. been, and now right. we make an extra call or a text. Right. And then after that's all done, do we have a database calling plan for your past clients' sphere of influence? Now you work on that. So we have it all laid out for what you're supposed to do every day. And as long as you're doing those little daily activities, putting the lead in the right category, starting the right drip campaign for that lead, the actual daily work of it isn't a ton because you've been doing the daily work all along.
Right, exactly. I mean, you've got the routine, you know where things go, you know how it goes. Look, this business is more than, depending on what you want to do in this business, you can find the right position for yourself. If that's not doing the lead gen and that's not doing the lead follow up, okay, be a showing assistant or be a gopher or a runner for other real estate agents. But there's all different kinds of positions that one can find, no matter where you are in the country. So, we've gone through a lot of things such as expectations. We've talked about vision and integration. So when we talk about 0 to 5 million new agents, I think the biggest thing that I have been working on forever is how to get that agent from 0 to 60, just to use an expression in miles per hour, as fast as possible. What's the first 90 days, the first 60 days look like? When I ask that question to a lot of people, they give me like 2 weeks of bullshit that, that's not going to get anybody any money. How do you really ramp up an agent quickly?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question, because one of the primary determiners if somebody's going to make it in the business is how fast they get their first deal.
Right.
So that's a great question. So the way we did things at our brokerage, and I think even if you don't choose to do things this way, the principles are the same here. As we had an intensive 2-week boot camp for our new agents. We did them once a quarter, so we bring on 3, 4, 5 agents at a time, and that once per quarter is when new agents started with us. That way we weren't constantly having a new person start every 2 weeks and having to do new training. So we did an intensive 2-week training that was trying to get them prepared for the activities we were going to ask them to do right away. So they're learning our systems, they're learning our CRM, they're learning scripts, they're learning follow-up principles, they're learning about homes, they're learning about a buyer presentation and a listing presentation. So we did a 2-week intensive boot camp that we had mapped out. You could do this with video mostly these days, or on Zoom, things like that. So 2-week intensive boot camp, and then they immediately are going to start getting leads, and they're immediately going to start executing on the Sphere and database program. So that looks like getting their Sphere and database into the CRM to start to follow up. It looks like an initial social media campaign, letting people know, hey, I've started in real estate, or I've started at a new brokerage. It's personal phone calls to your maybe top 25 people that you think are going to send you a referral. So Sphere and database is huge. Being visible on social media is huge. And then for us, we always provided a source of leads.
Right.
So
right.
So who are you going to call right away? Some people jump right into expireds and FSBOs. Some people jump right into circle prospecting around listings. New agents can hold open houses for more experienced listing agents. So I think there's a lot of ways to do it, and I think where the team leader comes in, or the broker comes in, is, again, it's helping you get clear. What are the things you have to do to be on the team, but also what do you want your business to look like? Let's choose the things, because you can't start off with Zillow leads, expireds and FSBOs, circle prospecting, and open house strategy, and trying to build a niche all at the same time, right? You're gonna fail at all of them. So what are the 2, maybe 3 things that you're going to implement right away in your business that we think are going to help you get off to a fast start? Do you have an advantage? Are you coming from corporate America into real estate and you've got a big network already? How do we leverage that network? Are you brand new in real estate and just starting out, and you don't, you're young and don't have much yet? All right, well, maybe open houses is the right thing for you to start with. Right. Maybe you need to double down on social media. So, the team leader's got to help the agents get clear. And then after that, it's like we talked about right at the beginning of you can't want it more than they do. Ultimately, you can prepare them, you can empower them, but then they got to go get after it.
I want to add something that's really, really important. If you get yourself into a situation, a new agent, an experienced agent that's stuck or whatever it is, and you're in a situation where you're not getting the support that was just defined by Joel right here. There was a definition of beginning support, and the whole process. You mentioned values, purpose, and mission, which leads to what you are doing is leading, serving, and inspiring so the agent that's getting started can actually build their business. If that's one thing that you don't see in your business, I'm talking to anybody who's watching this right now, you need to consider, where can you find that? And this is not a recruiting conversation at all. What this is do what you think is best for yourself. And if you're not getting the support, you need to look into it where you can get it. Would you'd agree with that, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you're a brand new agent, maybe that looks like getting on a team. If you're an established agent, that means a brokerage change. And there are some really good brokerages. There's a lot of bad brokerages too. So
Right.
there's not one that you need to find, but I absolutely agree. You have to find it. If you're successful but stuck, maybe that looks like a coach or getting into a mastermind. I know, like, you're part of Fast Forward movement, which is incredibly high level material and resources in there. So yeah, you have to go find it if you're not getting it.
And I think the most important thing that we're saying is you have to ask for it one way or the other. If you can't, asking for it means starting inside with the team leader and the brokerage. And then if you don't get an answer there, look online, look for it, because, I think our minds, yours and mine, have opened up with an organization that we work with. And we've also seen, you mentioned Fast Forward movement. I mean, one of the things that I have realized, and so much have grown in the 5 years since my brokerage, has been that there's not one question or one issue I can't handle, simply because of my network of brokers and agents and team leaders and leaders out there, and coaches for that matter, that I don't have to pay to ask a question and get an answer, simply because I have made myself visible. I go to events. That's another thing. Go to events as well.
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to an event to party. You're going there to work. And it's in some places you go, like, for instance, I went to Vegas for an event recently. I don't know what it looked like outside. I never went outside. I got to the hotel. I worked, went to the event, worked, went to the event. That's what I did for 3.5 days. Right. And then I got in a car and went to the airport. So, I mean, I know it was beautiful outside. It was also 113 degrees that week. But anyway, I mean, that's what you're doing. So, we've had a great conversation. Talk to me about, the different ways that people can get involved with you and Sphere Rocket VA.
Yeah. So with me personally, we got my email address, I think, up somewhere. Yeah, joel@sphererocket.com. I love having these types of conversations with agents when they're stuck, when they're thinking about growing a team, when they want to, look at what an operations hire might look like. So I enjoy having these conversations. I do a few every week. So feel free to just reach out to me to talk about your business. But if you want to get connected with Sphere Rocket, we have sphererocketva.com. You can book an appointment. We call them discovery calls. We are looking for the right people for our program, and we want to be the right fit for your business. So it's not a sales call. It really is kind of a clarity call, a discovery call. And we can talk about what hiring a virtual assistant might look like. We can help you get clear on the things that you need to get off your plate, and how do we translate that into a hire. Most people start with some kind of admin or executive assistant. A lot of social media help right now, a lot of video editing help right now. So we have a lot of talented people in the Philippines is a huge country where English is basically the second language, and there's a huge talent pool over there. So we can really find whatever you need in your business. But we also have a ton of resources. We learned pretty early on that just placing virtual assistants wasn't enough. We had to be more proactive with helping our clients be successful. And that's a process that's ongoing too. We're constantly looking for ways to improve, make it better. But we've got a ton of resources. We've got, how do I track my VA's hours? How do I pay my VA? How do I do accountability? How do we communicate? And then we have also some specific coaching designed for you to be successful with your virtual assistants. So for example, I'm about to jump off in 5 minutes. I do an operations coaching call every Friday for all of our clients. They can come on, I teach, and then we have a Q&A. We've got a video, social media, we've got executive assistant, transaction coordination. We have coaches that are top real estate agents and teams that have live coaching every week to help our clients be successful. So a lot of a lot of the fear with a virtual assistant is, how do I manage them? What do I have them do? We've got a ton of resources to help you be successful with that. So I would love to connect with everybody or anybody, one-on-one with my email there. Otherwise, if you're curious, you want to learn more, sphererocketva.com, and book a discovery call with one of our awesome team members.
Yeah, I want to tell you that I am a client, and I have been actually amazed at the support and how it's set up. And when Joe was talking about, it's not a sales call. It's not. And when you get set up with everything, they're not going to let you hire somebody until they can help you figure out what you really need. And that's going to be a conversation with Sphere Rocket about what you're looking to do. And they're actually going to map out the kind of person you need. Not only that, they're going to give you training on how to make sure that you get the most out of your VA. If the VA needs training, there's also training there for that. The training you're talking about, I just got a notification for your training this afternoon, right? So, and I attend those trainings. It's just, there's a plethora of information that you're not getting that you can get here. Anyway, that was my commercial for Sphere Rocket.
I appreciate it.
I love the system. I love the people. And, even if there's a question or an issue, it gets taken care of quickly. And that I appreciate. So anybody, if you're interested in getting involved with Sphere Rocket VA, sphererocketva.com, you want to have a conversation with Joel, well, you can see him on some of his trainings, as well as contacting him at joel@sphererocket.com. At the end of the broadcast, which is where we're at now, there's a couple of things I do. Number one, it's a really important question that I ask you, and it is really simple. How can I help you grow your business?
Oh, man. Help me get Justin on the next broadcast.
Okay, well, I'm going to need your help with that. I gave you dates, so since he had to miss this because of weather, he's going to have to suck it up for the next one on a strange day. So, but anyway,
we'll get him on here. I think your audience would love hearing from him.
I think so too. And as I do on every broadcast, you didn't know about this, but once you heard about this, you couldn't wait to get on. Because Justin must have told you that you get a hat when you come on the broadcast, and it's the new color, it's the new hat. And we're proud of everything we do here at Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team. And look, you have ways of doing things, and we use the Modern Agent framework to have agents set appointments. We do it in person and we do it online. Sphere Rocket is going to help you build your business along with what we do, and we support both Sphere Rocket. They support us. So I want to thank everybody for coming on. Next week, we've got another great person coming on. We've got Byron Lazine, who is the co-founder and chief of operations at Broke Agent Media. You may have seen him. He interviews only the top people. He interviews more top people than I do. But anyway, I want to thank you so much for coming on, Joel. Stay for a second as we go off. And everybody, we will see you. We will see you next week with Byron. And here we go. Just stick around for a minute, Joel.
That's good.
In progress.